The sky over Washington, D.C. glowed a strange purple as the alien ship hovered silently above the National Mall. It had been 3 days since the massive vessel appeared, and the world still held its breath. Military jets patrolled nearby, but kept their distance as ordered. Colonel John Blackwood stood at the edge of the hastily constructed landing zone, his uniform crisp despite the humidity. His weathered face betrayed no emotion, but his knuckles turned white as he gripped his service cap. 25 years in the Marines had not prepared him for this moment. "They're coming down now, sir," said Lieutenant Gina Martinez, her eyes fixed on the ship. A beam of light shot down from the vessel, and within it descended a transparent pod. It touched the ground with barely a sound. The front of the pod dissolved, revealing a tall, slender figure with pale blue skin and 4 arms. This was Ambassador Zixlar of the Vectari, the first alien to set foot on Earth. The President stepped forward with the Secretary General of the United Nations. Behind them stood representatives from Russia, China, India, and the European Union, the hastily formed United Earth Defense Council. "Welcome to Earth," the President said. Ambassador Zixlar bowed slightly. "We come in peace and with urgency." The alien's voice was melodic but clearly understandable. "My species leads the Galactic Coalition, an alliance of 37 civilizations. We have been observing your world since detecting your radio signals." Colonel Blackwood watched as the diplomats led the alien to a nearby tent for privacy. He followed at a respectful distance, having been appointed as military liaison due to his experience and calm demeanor. Inside the tent, Zixlar did not waste time. "Your world sits at the edge of a conflict zone. The Draxville Empire expands aggressively through our galaxy, conquering or destroying all in their path." Screens appeared in the air, showing planets burning and strange ships in battle. The images made Blackwood's stomach tighten. "We offer Earth membership in our coalition," Zixlar continued. "We will provide protection, technology, and knowledge. In return, we ask for your assistance in our defensive war." "What kind of assistance?" asked the President. "Your species has something unique," Zixlar said, turning 4 eyes toward the humans. "Your minds resist the Draxthul psionic weapons that devastate our forces. With proper training, human soldiers could be essential to our survival, and yours." Later that evening, in a secure Pentagon room, Colonel Blackwood sat with Joint Chiefs of Staff as they reviewed the coalition's proposal. "They want our people to fight their war," General Harris said, shaking his head. "Classic. They say the Draxthul will reach our solar system within 5 years with or without coalition intervention," said Admiral Roberts. "At least the coalition is offering technology and protection." Colonel Blackwood studied the alien data. "Their tech is at least 200 years beyond ours. We couldn't stop a Draxthul invasion without help." The debate lasted for weeks while more coalition ships arrived in Earth orbit. Scientists and engineers met with alien counterparts, verifying their claims. Military leaders reviewed the coalition's tactical information. Eventually, the United Earth Defense Council made its decision. On a rainy morning, 6 weeks after first contact, Colonel Blackwood stood in the Oval Office as the President signed the agreement. "Colonel Blackwood, you'll serve as our primary military liaison to the coalition forces," the President said. "The agreement limits our initial contribution to 100 soldiers. Choose them carefully." Blackwood nodded. "Yes, sir." That night, Blackwood stood alone on his porch, staring at the alien ships visible in the night sky. His phone contained the personnel files of thousands of soldiers from around the world. From these, he would select 100 humans to represent Earth among the stars. He thought about his 30 years of military service, the wars he had fought, the men and women he had led. Nothing had prepared him for this responsibility. 100 warriors, he whispered to himself as he scrolled through the first file. "Let's hope they all come back." 6 months later, only one would return, and he would refuse to talk. Major Alice Harlow stood before the 100 soldiers gathered in the underground facility. 6 months had passed since first contact, and now the truth was clear. The Coalition wanted humans for war. You've all been selected because your brains show the highest resistance to psionic influence, she said, her voice firm. The Draxthul use mind weapons that cripple most alien species, but not us. The soldiers sat in silence. They came from different countries, but all wore the same new uniform with the Terran Special Operations Group patch, TSOG. Lieutenant Frank Mitchell raised his hand. So we're special because we're stubborn. A few nervous laughs broke the tension. Something like that, Major Harlow said with a slight smile. Our neural patterns are different. Coalition scientists think it's because humans evolved on a planet with high background radiation and magnetic fields. Sergeant Melissa Carter leaned forward. What exactly will we be doing out there, Major? Before Harlow could answer, the door opened. Colonel Blackwood entered with Ambassador Zixlar and another alien with red skin and 6 eyes. The soldiers stood at attention. At ease, Blackwood said, "This is Admiral Vroktar of the Coalition Defense Force. He'll explain your mission." The red alien stepped forward. "Human warriors, you will join elite Coalition units on the front lines. Your immunity to our enemy's weapons makes you invaluable." His voice was deeper than Zixlar's, with a metallic quality. "But first, you must train with our technology and undergo enhancements." "Enhancements?" Corporal Daniel Wright whispered to Private First Class Sam Delgado beside him. Admiral Vroktar continued, "Our medical science can improve your bodies to survive space environments, enhance your strength, and extend your lifespan. Without these changes, you cannot serve effectively." After the briefing, the soldiers were divided into smaller groups. In the mess hall, Lieutenant Mitchell sat with Sergeant Carter, Corporal Wright, and PFC Delgado. "I didn't sign up to be experimented on," Wright said, pushing his food around his plate. Delgado, the youngest of the group at 22, shrugged. "I think it sounds cool." "Super soldier stuff, right?" "We're not here for cool, kid," Sergeant Carter said. She had been an Olympic biathlete before joining the military. "We're here because Earth needs allies and protection." Mitchell lowered his voice. "Did you see how Vroktar looked at us? Like we're lab rats, not soldiers." The next morning, the enhancements began. Delgado was in the first group. He lay in a pod filled with blue gel as Coalition medical officers monitored screens above him. "This will strengthen your bone density and muscle fiber," explained a female alien with feathery skin. "You'll be able to withstand 5 times normal gravity after adaptation." Delgado felt a burning sensation spread through his body, then pain, sharp and overwhelming. He tried not to scream. Later that week, Major Harlow found him in the training room, lifting weights that would have been impossible before. "How are you adapting, Delgado?" she asked. "It's strange, ma'am," he replied, putting down the heady bar. "I feel stronger, but sometimes I don't recognize myself in the mirror." Harlow nodded. "We're all changing. That's part of the mission." "Do you trust them, Major?" Delgado asked suddenly. She paused. "I trust that we need their help against the Draxthul." The rest, she didn't finish. By the 3rd week, all 100 soldiers had received the basic enhancements. They trained with alien weapons and technology daily. Corporal Wright excelled with the Coalition computers, his engineering background helping him understand the alien systems. One evening, Colonel Blackwood visited as they prepared for their first space flight. "Tomorrow you leave Earth," he told them. "You carry humanity's hopes with you. Learn everything you can about Coalition technology and tactics. Remember, you're not just soldiers, you're explorers and diplomats." As they boarded the shuttle the next morning, Delgado looked back at the Earth through the launch bay window. The blue planet seemed suddenly small and fragile. "See you soon," he whispered, not knowing that, of the 100 warriors departing, only he would ever return. The Coalition flagship Eternal Vigilance was unlike anything the humans had ever seen. It stretched nearly 5 miles long, with glowing blue energy lines running along its silver hull. The 100 TSOG soldiers stood at the viewing deck, staring in awe as they docked. "It's like a floating city," whispered Corporal Wright. Sergeant Carter nodded. "A city built for war." The humans were assigned quarters in the ship's central section. Everything felt slightly wrong. The gravity was lighter than Earth's, the air had a sweet smell, and the lights gave everything a purple tint. Sleeping proved difficult in beds designed for different bodies. Lieutenant Mitchell found PFC Delgado sitting alone in the mess hall that first night, pushing strange food around his plate. "Not hungry?" Mitchell asked, sitting down with his own tray. "It tastes like metal and bananas," Delgado replied. "I miss hamburgers." Mitchell laughed. "Better get used to it. We're not exactly near a McDonald's." Major Harlow entered, looking tired but composed. "Briefing in 10 minutes. Admiral Vroktar has our first mission." In the command center, holographic displays showed a star system the humans didn't recognize. Admiral Vroktar's 6 eyes blinked in sequence as he addressed them. "We've detected Draxthul ships near Proxima Centauri, the closest star to your solar system," he said. "They are establishing a forward base to attack Earth. We must stop them." The fleet jumped through what the aliens called fold space. The sensation made most humans violently ill. Wright spent an hour in the medical bay after passing out. "Your bodies will adjust," said the coalition medic, injecting him with a blue fluid. "First jump is always the worst." When they arrived at Proxima Centauri, the TSOG soldiers were divided into 10 squads. Mitchell, Carter, Wright, and Delgado were assigned to Alpha Squad under Major Harlow's command. Their first battle came quickly. Draxthul forces had already landed on the 4th planet, a rocky world with thin atmosphere. The humans wore coalition battle armor that enhanced their strength and protected them from the harsh environment. "Remember your training," Major Harlow told Alpha Squad as their dropship approached the surface. "Draxthul troops will try to use psionic attacks. You'll feel pressure in your head. Ignore it and keep fighting." The dropship ramp opened onto a red landscape of rocks and dust. In the distance, strange structures rose from the ground. The beginnings of the Draxthul base. The battle was chaos. Draxthul soldiers were tall, gray beings with multiple limbs. They wore black armor that seemed to absorb light. Their weapons fired energy bolts that melted rock and metal. But when they tried their psionic weapons, devices that emitted pulses of energy that caused coalition troops to collapse in agony, the humans remained standing. "It's working," Sergeant Carter shouted as she fired her coalition pulse rifle. "I feel the pressure, but it's not stopping me." The Draxthul soldiers seemed confused by the humans' resistance. They focused their attacks on the TSOG soldiers, giving the coalition forces an opening. Major Harlow recognized the opportunity. "Alpha Squad, push forward. Draw their psionic fire away from coalition troops." The humans advanced, and the battle turned. By the end of the day, the Draxthul were retreating, their base half-constructed. Later, on the flagship, Admiral Vroktar personally congratulated Major Harlow. "Your soldiers performed beyond expectations. The Draxthul have never encountered resistance to their mind weapons." That night, while most celebrated their victory, PFC Delgado couldn't sleep. He wandered the ship and found himself near the command deck. Using his enhanced hearing, another coalition improvement, he overheard Admiral Vroktar speaking to Ambassador Zixlar. "The humans are more useful than anticipated," Vroktar said. "Their neural patterns are perfect. After we extract and replicate the necessary tissue, the specimens won't be needed." "And Earth?" asked Zixlar. "A fertile world in a strategic location," Vroktar replied. "Once the war is won, it will make an excellent colony for our people." Delgado froze, his heart pounding. He backed away silently, then ran to find Major Harlow. The humans weren't allies. They were specimens, and Earth wasn't being protected. It was being assessed for colonization. Major Harlow listened to Delgado's report in silence, her face growing darker with each word. They met in a maintenance corridor where coalition monitoring was minimal. "You're certain about what you heard?" she asked when he finished. "Yes, Mom," Delgado said. "They called us specimens. They plan to take Earth after the war." She nodded slowly. "I've had suspicions. The Coalition is too interested in our biology, not just our fighting ability." "What do we do?" Delgado asked. "For now, we keep this between us. Tell Lieutenant Mitchell, Sergeant Carter, and Corporal Wright, but no one else. We need more information before we act." Over the next month, the TSOG soldiers fought in 3 more battles. Each time, they proved devastatingly effective against Draxful forces, and each time, more humans died. They started with 100, now only 76 remained. After the battle for Proxima Centauri, the Coalition fleet moved deeper into contested space. Their next mission targeted a Draxful research facility on a moon orbiting a gas giant. "This facility develops their psionic weapons," Admiral Vroktar told the squad leaders. "We must capture it intact for study." Alpha Squad led the assault. They breached the facility's outer defenses and pushed toward the central laboratory. The fighting was intense. 2 more human soldiers fell. Inside the lab, Corporal Wright accessed the Draxful computer systems. His eyes widened as he translated the data. "Major, you need to see this," he called to Harlow. "These aren't weapon designs. They're communication devices." Harlow looked at the schematics on the screen. "What do you mean?" "The psionic attacks are attempts at telepathic communication," Wright explained. "The Draxful are trying to talk to us, not hurt us. But something about their signals causes pain to Coalition species." Lieutenant Mitchell joined them, keeping watch at the door. "Why would the Coalition lie about this?" "Because they're using us," Harlow said grimly. "Download everything." "Right. We need proof." As Wright worked, Sergeant Carter called from another room. "Major, you need to see this now." They found Carter standing before a large window overlooking a lower level. Below, thousands of civilian Draxful were held in transparent cells. "Prisoners?" Mitchell asked. "Test subjects," Carter replied, pointing to Coalition scientists moving among the cells. "They're experimenting on civilians." Wright finished downloading the data. "There's more, Major. According to these records, the Draxful didn't start this war. The Coalition attacked their outer colonies 5 years ago." A loud explosion rocked the facility. Coalition forces were bombarding the outer sections. "They're destroying the evidence," Harlow realized. "Everyone, we're leaving now. Grab that data and move." They fought their way out as the facility crumbled around them. Their extraction shuttle barely escaped before the entire moon shattered from Coalition bombardment. Back on the flagship, Major Harlow was immediately summoned to Admiral Vroktar's chamber. She went alone, ordering her squad to secure the data they had recovered. "You disobeyed direct orders," Vroktar said when she entered. "You were to secure the central lab and wait for scientific teams." "The facility was collapsing, sir," she replied. "We had to evacuate." His 6 eyes studied her. "Did you remove any materials from the facility?" "No, sir. Everything was destroyed in the bombardment." He seemed to accept this. "Your next mission is critical. We've identified a Draxful homeworld. Your squad will deploy a special package to their atmosphere." "What kind of package?" Harlow asked. "A bioagent that targets their neural systems," Vroktar said. "It will end their resistance permanently." "You mean genocide," Harlow said before she could stop herself. Vroktar's eyes blinked in sequence. "I mean victory, Major. Report to Preparation Bay 6 tomorrow." Dismissed. As Harlow left, she knew they had reached a turning point. The Coalition wasn't fighting a defensive war. They were systematically exterminating another species, and humans were their tools. That night, Alpha Squad made a decision that would change everything. They could no longer follow Coalition orders. It was time to find the truth, and a way to warn Earth. Alpha Squad gathered in a maintenance room that Wright had confirmed was free of monitoring devices. Major Harlow stood before her team, her face grim. "I refused the mission. she told them. Admiral Vroktar has relieved me of command. They're appointing Captain Rogers to lead the TSOG. Rogers will do whatever they ask, Mitchell said. He's been kissing alien behind since we arrived. We need to contact Earth, Carter suggested. Warn them about the Coalition's true plans. Wright shook his head. I checked the communication logs. All our messages home have been altered. Earth thinks we're heroes fighting alongside noble allies. We could steal a ship, Delgado said. The others looked at him. What? I've been studying the hangar bay layouts during night shifts. Before they could discuss further, alarms blared throughout the ship. A voice announced over the speakers, all combat units to battle stations. Drax's full fleet approaching. They hurried to their assigned positions. Through the viewports, they saw dozens of Drax's full ships emerging from fold space. The battle was fierce and chaotic. During the fighting, Harlow received orders to lead her squad on a boarding mission to a disabled Drax's full cruiser. As their shuttle approached the enemy ship, she made a decision. Change of plans, she told her team. We're going to try something different. Once aboard the Drax's full vessel, instead of attacking, Harlow ordered weapons lowered. When Drax's full soldiers appeared, she stepped forward with open hands. We know the truth, she called out. We want to talk. The Drax's full commander, taller than the others with silver markings on his gray skin, studied them curiously. After a tense moment, he made a series of clicking sounds. A device on his arm translated. Why would Coalition soldiers wish to talk? We're not Coalition, Harlow replied. We're humans from Earth. The Coalition is using us, using our people. We know they started this war. The commander considered this. Follow. Quickly. They were led to a secure room deep in the ship. The Drax's full commander introduced himself as Krelvan. We have observed your kind fighting, he said through his translator. You resist our communications. The Coalition told us they were weapons, Carter explained. Krelvan made a sound like grinding metal, a laugh. The Coalition fears exchange of information. They do not wish you to hear our words. Can you show us the truth about this war? Harlow asked. Krelvan placed a device on the table. It projected images of peaceful Drax's full worlds being bombarded by Coalition ships. Millions dying. Then images of Coalition scientists experimenting on captured Drax's full. The Coalition seeks domination of all advanced species, Krelvan explained. Those who cannot be controlled are eliminated. We need to warn Earth, Mitchell said. Krelvan was about to respond when explosions rocked the ship. Coalition forces had boarded. You must go, Krelvan said, handing Harlow a small device. This contains proof. Truth about Coalition. Truth about plan for Earth. They fought their way back to their shuttle. Drax's full soldiers now covering their retreat rather than attacking them. As they escaped, they saw the Drax's full cruiser explode behind them. Upon returning to the Eternal Vigilance, they found chaos. The TSOG had been split up during the battle. Only 43 human soldiers remained, and Captain Rogers was waiting with armed Coalition guards. Major Alice Harlow, you and your squad are under arrest for treason against the Coalition, Rogers announced. Your actions on the Drax's full vessel were observed. They were disarmed and taken to the brig. Through the force field of their cell, Harlow watched as Coalition officers examined footage of their meeting with Krelvan. What happens now? Delgado asked quietly. They'll execute us as examples, Carter said. Wright had been examining their cell. Maybe not. These systems aren't so different from what I've been studying. Can you get us out? Mitchell asked. Wright smiled slightly. Given time. But then what? We're on a Coalition flagship surrounded by enemies. Harlow looked at her team, the only people she could trust in this vast ship of aliens. Then we take the ship, or at least enough of it to get a message to Earth. That's insane, Mitchell said, then grinned. I like it. As Coalition guards approached their cell, Harlow whispered to her team, Be ready. Tonight, We become rebels. It took Wright 3 hours to disable the cell's force field. The night cycle had begun, and the ship operated with minimal crew. Now or never, Wright whispered as the blue energy field flickered and died. They moved silently through the corridors, avoiding patrols. Sergeant Carter led them to the armory where they retrieved their weapons. Each step felt dangerous, each shadow potentially hiding discovery. "We need to reach Hangar Bay 4, Delgado said. "The scout ships there have full space capability." "First, we free our people," Harlow replied. They found the other human soldiers in a large holding area. Not all were willing to join the rebellion. Some believed the coalition's lies, others feared the consequences of resistance. In the end, only 28 humans gathered in a maintenance tunnel, planning their escape. "The coalition will chase us," Lieutenant Mitchell warned. "We need a distraction." "I can overload the secondary power relay," Wright suggested. "It would disable their tracking systems for a few minutes." Major Harlow nodded. "Do it. We'll head for the hangar." As Wright worked, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. They had been discovered. "Move now," Harlow ordered. They fought their way to Hangar Bay 4, losing 3 more soldiers in the process. Coalition guards fired strange weapons that burned through armor. The humans returned fire, their enhanced bodies and combat training keeping them alive as they pushed forward. At the hangar entrance, Mitchell and Carter held off pursuers while the others prepared a scout ship for launch. Outside the hangar force field, space rippled as new ships appeared. "Drax full vessels," Delgado called from the scout ship's view screen. A whole fleet. The Eternal Vigilance rocked with explosions as Draxthul weapons hit its shields. In the confusion, the humans boarded the scout ship. Wright bypassed the launch protocols, and the small vessel shot out into space. Behind them, the Coalition flagship turned its weapons on the escaping humans. Energy beams sliced through space, barely missing them. "Hold on," Wright called as he activated the fold space drive. The stars blurred, and for a sickening moment, reality twisted around them. Then they emerged in deep space, far from the battle. "Did we make it?" someone asked. Before anyone could answer, space rippled again, and a massive Draxthul battlecruiser appeared beside them. A tractor beam locked onto their ship. "We're being pulled in," Wright said, fingers dancing over controls. "I can't break free." Major Harlow stood, her weapon ready. "Be prepared for anything." Their scout ship was drawn into a docking bay. When the doors opened, they found Draxthul soldiers waiting, but with weapons lowered. Commander Krelvin stepped forward. "Humans, you escaped." "Good." Harlow lowered her weapons slowly. "You followed us. Tracked coalition ship. Hope you would break free." Krelvin gestured for them to follow. "Come, much to discuss." On the Draxthul command deck, Krelvin showed them star maps and battle plans. The Coalition war machine stretched across hundreds of systems. "Coalition has destroyed 17 species," Krelvin explained. "Those who resist are called aggressive. Those who surrender become slaves." "And Earth?" Harlow asked. Another Draxthul brought forward a data crystal. It contained Coalition plans for Earth. Initial colonization zones, human containment areas, resource extraction points. "They plan to begin what they call preliminary cleansing within 3 months, Harlow said, reading the translated documents. "That means killing millions of humans to make room for coalition settlers." The humans stood in shocked silence. "We must warn Earth," Mitchell finally said. "Yes," Krelvin agreed, "but coalition controls space near your world. Difficult to approach." Major Harlow studied the star maps, her mind racing. After a long moment, she spoke. "We split up. Lieutenant Mitchell takes a small team in the fastest ship, tries to reach Earth through the outer system. The rest of us go with the Draxthul fleet, gather more allies, and create a diversion to draw coalition forces away from Earth. Dangerous for both groups," Krelvin noted. "We have no choice," Harlow replied. "Earth has no idea what's coming." That night, the humans prepared for their separate missions. Lieutenant Mitchell selected 6 soldiers for his team, including PFC Delgado. "Why me?" Delgado asked when Mitchell informed him. "Because if only some of us make it through," Mitchell said quietly. "I need someone who can tell the whole story, someone who's seen everything from the beginning." As they boarded their separate ships the next morning, Major Harlow gripped Mitchell's arm. "Get home, Frank, whatever it takes." "See you on Earth, Alice," he replied, though both knew the odds were against it. Lieutenant Mitchell's ship raced through fold space, pushing its engines beyond safe limits. The small vessel carried 7 humans on their desperate mission to reach Earth. Their path took them through the edges of Coalition territory, avoiding main travel routes. 2 weeks to reach the solar system, Wright reported from the navigation console. "If we don't blow ourselves up first." Mitchell nodded. "Keep the speed. We don't have time to play it safe." They had renamed their stolen ship Messenger. Its holds contained all the evidence they had gathered: Coalition plans, Draxthul testimony, and records of the experiments on humans. Every hour brought new warnings of pursuit on their sensors. 5 days into their journey, disaster struck. The fold space drive began to fail, forcing them to drop back into normal space for repairs. "I need 3 hours," Wright said, climbing into the engine compartment. "We may not have 3 minutes," Sergeant Carter replied, watching the sensors. 2 Coalition cruisers just appeared on long-range scans. They hid the Messenger in the atmosphere of a gas giant, working frantically on repairs. Wright and another soldier named Peterson stayed in the engine room while the others monitored the Coalition ships searching the system. The cruisers came closer. One passed directly overhead, its sensors sweeping the clouds around them. "They've spotted us," Carter called. "They're coming around." "Engines online," Wright shouted from below. Mitchell punched the controls. "Go, go, go." The Messenger shot out of the clouds just as energy beams sliced through the space they had occupied. The fold space drive engaged, and they escaped, but not before taking damage to their rear section. Peterson didn't make it. The engine room had been breached, and only Wright's emergency suit saved him from being sucked into space. 6 humans remained. They continued their journey, now even more cautious, but the Coalition was alert to their presence. 3 more times they were forced to fight their way free from ambushes. At the edge of the Alpha Centauri system, they lost 2 more soldiers when a Coalition patrol ship rammed them deliberately. Private Green and Corporal Lewis died sealing the breach in the hull. 4 humans remained. "They're throwing everything at us," Wright said as they made emergency repairs yet again. "Why are they so desperate to stop us?" "Because we know too much," Delgado replied. "If Earth learns the truth, the Coalition loses their perfect soldiers and their future colony." As they approached the solar system, they received a transmission from Major Harlow. Her voice came through filled with static. "Mitchell, massive battle. Jupiter, Coalition fleet, heading to Earth. We're engaging. Delay them. Get the message through." The transmission cut off. Mitchell tried to respond, but there was only silence. "She's drawing their attention," Carter realized, "giving us a chance." They altered course to avoid Jupiter, where the battle raged. But as they passed Saturn, their sensors lit up with warnings. "Coalition blockade," Wright announced grimly. "At least 20 ships between us and Earth." Mitchell studied the tactical display. "They've locked down every approach. We can't fight through that," Carter said. "No," Mitchell's face hardened, "but we can make them chase us while one ship slips through." He explained his plan. The Messenger would split into its emergency pods. 3 would create diversions while 1 carried the evidence to Earth. "Who goes?" Wright asked. Mitchell looked at each of them, then at Delgado. "Sam, you take the evidence." "Why me?" Delgado asked. "I'm the least experienced." "Because you've seen everything from the beginning," Mitchell replied. "You can tell the whole story. and you're the best pilot we have left. They transferred all their data to Delgado's pod. Carter gave him her sidearm. Wright added a small device. Emergency beacon, Wright explained. Earth forces will detect it. Mitchell gripped Delgado's shoulder. Get home, soldier, whatever it takes. They launched their pods in different directions. As planned, the coalition ships chased Mitchell, Carter, and Wright, their larger signatures drawing attention away from Delgado's small pod. Delgado watched on his rear scanner as, one by one, his friends' signals vanished. First Wright, then Carter. Finally, Mitchell's pod flared brightly as it rammed a coalition vessel before disappearing. Alone, Delgado pushed his tiny craft toward Earth, the evidence of humanity's betrayal his only companion. Delgado's pod shuddered as it entered Earth's atmosphere. Warning lights flashed across the damaged console. Coalition weapons fire had hit his left stabilizer, and the craft spun wildly as it fell. He fought the controls, sweat streaming down his face. The ground rushed up, mountains and forests becoming clearer by the second. With a final effort, he managed to level the pod enough to avoid a direct crash. The impact still threw him against the restraints, breaking 3 ribs. The pod skidded across rocky ground, tearing apart as it went. When it finally stopped, smoke filled the cabin. Delgado dragged himself out, clutching the data crystal containing the evidence. His enhanced body was already working to repair his injuries, but he still coughed blood onto the snow. Looking around, he recognized the Rocky Mountains. He had made it to Earth. The emergency beacon activated automatically. Within an hour, military helicopters appeared overhead. Soldiers surrounded him, weapons ready until they confirmed he was human. PFC Sam Delgado, Terran Special Operations Group, he managed to say before collapsing. He woke in a military hospital. Doctors hovered around him, fascinated by his enhanced body. Through the window of his room, he could see armed guards. The data crystal, he asked the nurse, checking his vital signs. They took everything when you arrived, she replied. Days passed. High-ranking officers came to question him, but Delgado said nothing. The crystal contained all they needed to know. His words seemed unnecessary against the weight of what he had witnessed. Colonel Blackwood visited 2 weeks after Delgado's return. The old soldier looked tired, his face lined with new worries. The coalition ambassadors are demanding we return you to their custody, Blackwood said. They claim you stole military secrets and betrayed their trust. Delgado stared at the ceiling, silent. The evidence you brought has thrown our government into chaos, Blackwood continued. Some believe it. Others think it's Drax-full propaganda. He leaned closer. I need you to talk, son. Tell us what really happened out there. But Delgado kept his silence. How could he describe watching his friends die one by one? How could he explain the horror of discovering that the beings they trusted planned to destroy humanity? Words seemed small, inadequate. A month after his return, Earth's telescopes detected a massive battle near Jupiter. Coalition and Draxthul ships destroyed each other in flashes of light visible even from Earth. Delgado watched the news reports from his hospital bed, knowing Major Harlow and the others were out there, fighting to buy Earth time. Military psychologists tried different approaches to get him to speak. They showed him photos of the TSOG soldiers, asked about specific missions, even brought in family members of those who died. Delgado listened to it all, but said nothing. The final coalition ambassador left Earth 60 days after Delgado's return. The next day, 3 large coalition warships appeared in orbit, demanding Earth's surrender. Earth was not defenseless. Using the data Delgado brought, scientists had begun adapting coalition and Draxthul technology. Orbital defense platforms were hastily constructed. The world united as it never had before, preparing for war. On the eve of what might be humanity's last stand, a young lieutenant came to Delgado's room. She carried a small data chip. This arrived on a Draxthul probe that slipped past the blockade, she explained. It's addressed to you. Alone, Delgado played the message. Major Harlow's face appeared, tired but determined. "Sam, if you're seeing this, you made it home. Good job, soldier." She smiled briefly. "We won't survive what's coming, but we've gathered allies, species who also suffered under the coalition. Earth won't fight alone." She looked away, then back at the camera. "Don't blame yourself for being the only one to return. Someone had to tell our story." Her image began to break up. "Not the story of our battles, but of our humanity. That's why we fought. That's what matters." The message ended. Delgado stood and walked to the window. He could see people gathering in the streets below, looking up at the coalition ships visible in the daylight sky. For the first time since his return, he spoke. "Nurse," he called softly. She came quickly, surprised to hear his voice. "I'd like to visit the memorial wall," he said. At the newly built monument listing the names of the fallen TSOG soldiers, Delgado stood before the gathered military leaders and press. "I will not talk about their weapons or tactics," he began, his voice rough from disuse. "I will talk about their courage, their sacrifice, their humanity. That is the story that needs to be told." As coalition ships descended toward Earth, humanity prepared for war. But they did so having heard the true story of their fallen warriors, not as tactical information, but as a testament to what humans could achieve even in the darkest of times.